Welcome to another week's show with me, Paul Gomez,
I don't know
790.
about that. Could be a secret item.
Look, we left the camera too far up. There's like so much space. Don't do it because it's going to close out on you. Next time. Next time. Dun, dun, dun. All ready for another show?
Yeah.
No, we got a list of topics. We got a great guest that we're looking so forward to talking to. I got one topic that I wanted to talk about. I don't know if I want to talk about it right now before he comes in or go ahead and get him on. I guess we could bring him on, right? And then just talk about the topic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we got a great guest, like I said, in the background. He's coming on from a whole bunch of projects. I don't even know where to start. It's Jorge Medina. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Medina, it is. What's going on, Paul? How's it going, guys? Good. I'm doing well. I'm actually, looks like I'm incognito right now. I'm in my car. I actually was driving home from work and I decided to pull over so I don't miss the show. So here I am sitting in the front seat of my car.
You're always at a secret location.
I'm at a secret location nobody's supposed to know. That's all I have to say. But yeah, man, no, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. This is cool.
Man, we're glad to have you on. Now, I got a list of topics. This is kind of a topical show, but of course we're going to talk about a lot of the stuff that you're doing and, your projects that you got and a little bit about you. But before I get into your stuff, because I do want to touch on that, there was a huge topic that was going on this past week in the wrestling community. I don't know if you watch wrestling or not, but there's two big stars that passed away. One of them is a big, huge, legendary star. Do you know who Terry Funk is?
Heard of him?
No,
I don't like know.
Terry Funk is a huge name in the wrestling community. He was in it for over 50 years. He innovated the hardcore wrestling. They used to call him kind of like the father of hardcore. Kind of. I mean, he was hardcore before Mankind was hardcore, or Mick Foley, and Mick Foley is really known for hardcore. And Mick Foley saying that he learned most of everything from Terry Funk. But the one thing also is, like I said, 50 years in wrestling. A lot of people don't get 5. A lot of people don't get 10. And a lot of people kind of say that wrestling and comic book industry is the same. You don't know if you're going to make it or not. Even if you're talented, you might not make it. It's just a persistent thing. And you don't see people with a 50-year career in wrestling. So Terry Funk was huge. And they used to always say, anywhere he went across the world, he brought Texas with him. And we're from Texas, so it's kind of bitter to hear that he passed. He was such a huge innovator in wrestling. And then the other one.
There are so many wrestlers that just, that in the last few years that have passed away like this, man. Do they know what was the cause of death? Do they know, or?
Well, with Terry Funk was just, it was that time for him. He was, I think he was 90 years old. Right. I mean, he was like 50 plus years in wrestling. I mean, and then, you account, his younger years, he was about 70 years in wrestling. He was a Hall of Famer. He had multiple belts. He worked in Japan for a while. I mean, his career throughout the whole thing, you name a wrestling company, he was probably with it,
Yeah.
And like I said, he was a legend. He was a Hall of Famer in at least 3-4 different companies. So I mean, he was just huge. And then you had a huge, bright, shining star in Bray Wyatt, and this guy was, he was an innovator. They said that the main thing they used to always say about him was his creativity. He wasn't the tallest or strongest of guys, but he was unique. He was very, very unique. And that was the thing. His ideas were layers. And I always thought of Chris Claremont, with his stories on the X-Men. They had layers upon layers. You were reading one story, but it would gravitate into like 10 or 12 other, plot lines later
Right.
down the road. And that's the way Bray Wyatt was. He started with his career, and it was like him, and then it led to him and the Bray Wyatt family, and then it led to the Fiend, and then and that's the way he layered his storytelling of the career. And everybody just expected him to come back. He passed away for other reasons, but it was just a sad day because he was pretty young.
Yeah. This was recent. This was like what, a few days ago, right?
Yeah,
Like I
this
remember
was last
getting
week.
the alert. And I'm like, what? I think it was like 36. Like I think he was like extremely
Yeah,
just a young dude. He wasn't that old at all, man.
and he was
Man.
really a shining star because, like I said, whenever you get into the wrestling career, you don't know if it's going to be a year or two, But
Right.
he was in the middle of a huge run, and everybody
Mhm.
expected him to come back. Everybody wanted him to come back because he was so
Right.
popular and people gravitated to his stories so much. And it's a sad day that you have this one huge legendary wrestler in Terry Funk, and then this one innovative wrestler in Bray Wyatt passing. It's just really sad.
Yeah.
But having said that, let's talk about something that's not so sad, and let's talk about your career. Your
Yeah.
career in comics. Talk
Oh
about
man,
it. Like,
my career in comics, dude. That thing expands quite a few years, man. I've been doing the indie stuff since I want to say about '03, maybe '01, '02, I mean, early 2000s. But obviously, like a lot of us, I've been reading and writing comics since I was a kid.
right,
So the comic bug bit me very, very young. I didn't get into storytelling like this through comics. I actually got into it through comic strips
right,
as a kid. And I grew up around a lot of like art teachers, like my aunts. And I'm originally from Ecuador, so I was born in Ecuador, and I was out there till I was about 7, and then I came to the States at that age. But a lot of my childhood was spent just reading newspapers and comic strips. It wasn't comic books. I didn't actually discover comic books until I must have been like in 7th grade when I picked up my first, like, I think it was like an Iron Man or a Thor comic or something like that. And then I was hooked. I was hooked because I was like, oh wow, this is a different way of storytelling, right? Like
right,
I want to be able to tell stories this way. And the interesting thing was that I never wanted to work for any of the companies. I always wanted to create my own stuff. Like
right.
I never wanted to, my aspirations weren't one day I'm gonna draw, I'm gonna write for Marvel or DC or even work for Disney. As much of a fan as I was, I always just wanted to create my own story. So yeah, I've been doing this for a while, man. I've been doing this since like 2003, I think, is when I started doing my own
Wow.
stuff. Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a
You know,
while.
I've been on y'all's show, and I don't know. Again, every time I come across my four, how do I say it, inspirations,
Yeah.
I usually let them know, reiterate the story again. Whenever I first started, I started watching a lot of YouTube, and there were four shows that I had like on repeat or on the backgrounds while I was studying and while I was writing, and Catch the Craze was one of them. So it was
Absolutely.
like,
Yeah.
while I was going on Google and researching stuff and looking at these scripts from these great people that I was studying so I could learn how to write a script, I had Catch the Craze on, and it was one of my four shows that I constantly watched. So I want to
Yeah.
definitely say a thank you because I definitely appreciate that. That helped lead me to where I am today.
Appreciate that, man. Yeah. No, listen, that show, and we've been doing that show since like '06. We stopped doing it for a while. Sam went away and started, he left comics for a little while. But when he came back, we decided to bring it back. And
Right.
it's, we love doing the show. We like talking shop. We like doing this, what we're doing right now, the topics, you know what I mean? Because when like you, Paul, when you start out, you have so many questions, right?
Yeah.
There's so many things you don't know because you don't know what you don't know. And so you're just walking into this thing. It's like, okay, how do I create a comic? So a lot of that thought process behind the show was that, like, giving people insight into the do's and don'ts, like some of the things that we've made. I mean, we've been doing this since '03. We're not, exactly rich and
Right.
famous from doing this thing. So we've obviously made a lot of mistakes. So one of our segments is you know, get your meds, and part of that is saying, hey, these are the things we did wrong. These are the things we failed at. Maybe if you do that differently, you may have a different result. You know, it's almost like a cautionary tale. So yeah, man, I appreciate you saying that, dude. I really, really do.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, it helped get me where I am. The topics that y'all had on there, that whenever, whether it was talking about the industry or talking about how to do things or talking about to the new creators, it was all stuff that kind of helped mold where I was leading my career or figuring out what I could do as well. So really thank both of y'all, and thank all the people out there that have shows that tell people
Right.
how it is and stuff. And that was kind of one of the reasons we wanted to do this show and do the shows that I've been doing, is because I wanted to let other people know, hey, this is my path. These are some of the mistakes I made. You don't have to make them because I already did,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
this is how we can avoid them next time. But this
You know,
show,
no, I was
okay,
gonna say I love that you guys are doing this, man, and the fact that you have the hardest working
yeah,
kid in the business right there sitting next to you. That helps, right? That helps. So
yeah,
that's
pay no attention to the hair.
My hair's amazing. What are you talking about?
But I mean,
yes, amazing.
he goes out there, and you were talking about how your goal in the comic stuff wasn't to get into Marvel and DC. Everybody asks me about that too. I mean, that's a common question. And my goal wasn't to make Marvel or DC. My goal wasn't for fame or fortune. My goal was for my kids,
So we can eat a lot of pizza.
to spend time with my kids. And this is what I wanted to do. I
Yeah.
always tell people, whenever I got that first ash can box in and they ran to open it, that was my goal. Getting to see their eyes light up. That was it.
Mostly mine.
That's good.
So
Nah,
yeah,
man, that's cool.
let's talk about some other topics. There's a
Let's
lot of
talk
stuff
about it.
going on.
Yeah.
Uh,
We got
did you hear about the top movies this past week? That was Gran Turismo. Do you know anything about that?
yeah.
I think a lot of
Well,
people
I know.
a
No,
lot
no.
of
I was
people
gonna say
kind of
what I know. I know that it was like a true story, right? It's
yeah,
based on a true story of a kid who was a gamer
yeah,
and decided that he was going to go into the in training for the actual for real races, and he actually found a lot of success doing it because.
yeah.
And I think today a lot of people train that way now, right? Where you train in a
So
simulator, which is
simulators,
essentially
yeah.
a video game. Yeah, which is essentially a video game, and that's what they were doing. Yeah.
So that's the number one movie in the theaters today. But I think there's a lot of people that kind of overlooked it. And the funny thing about it being number one is they didn't just use the numbers from this weekend. They had a previous like sneak peek the week before, and they added those numbers in, and they barely made number one. You know what made number
Mm,
two?
Blue Beetle.
No,
The
Barbie.
Son of Freedom.
no,
Barbie.
yes. I know
Barbie's
you were
Barbie's
hoping for it to.
kicking butt, bro. It's
Yeah, I
kicking
know you
butt,
were
dude.
hoping for it to be Blue Beetle because they won number one the weekend before, and you're a huge fan. Yeah,
Well, Blue Beetle was 3, so that's not bad.
and
Hell
Blue
yeah.
Beetle was three. Barbie was
Better
number
than the
two. Though.
Flash.
Barbie was number two, and that was only because, like I said, they put those sneak previews from the week before in. Otherwise, it would have been Barbie number one again. And I still think the reason Barbie has got that power is because it's kind of based towards girls. I think it's that crowd that's forgotten. And the reason that I really want to bring this up, not only because it's pop culture, but I feel in the comic book world, the crowd that's forgotten is the teenagers. And I always talk about that. I think the teenagers are a harder audience, and a lot of people kind of forget about them. That's why I always ask your opinion.
Yeah. You make
Well,
that
yeah,
point.
that's a good point, Paul. Like, and I think when you go to Barnes and Nobles or when you go to some of these stores, what you see is, sorry, what you see YA, right? Your young
Yeah.
adult. That's what you see. And I often wonder, and you know, we have a young adult here sitting next to us, like, how much interest do you have in like graphic novels and comics? Like, do you read them? Do you like them? Like, what's your
I read
level
them
of interest?
time to time, but it's like
Yeah.
I can't really read Marvel or DC because they kind of got
Mm.
repetitive and the same thing over and over and over again, and it's just like very similar to each other.
Now I know this, but on that same topic, what was the last graphic novel you bought,
Oh, that I bought
or that we got you?
Blue Beetle
Graphic novel?
novel. That's
That was a
comics.
comic. No, the comic is the floppy that you bought. The Blue Beetle.
Oh, you
was
talking
a-
about the big books?
Yes, that's
Oh,
what graphic novels
Big
are.
books, yeah. Big books. Secret Wars was the last one I got.
Secret Wars. Yes.
Secret
Yeah.
Wars. Okay.
He was into the Secret Wars, and he was into what was the Marvel one? The other Marvel one. Because I know
Oh, was it Secret
you
Invasion? Was it Secret Invasion or no?
No,
Civil War.
Was
Civil
it?
War. And then the last one was like Annihilation or something. The fact that Marvel does so many like big events, I think it kind of deflated the popularity of them, the hype of them. They seem to do them like every few months now, as opposed to like every year or two, like they used to whenever I was reading them. So I think it's like not as seen as much. I think you got in an Invasion.
maybe I might have gotten one.
Judgment. I forget what it was. I know he had gotten in one of the main big huge storylines, and he was following that, and he started getting graphic novels to kind of catch up, and after a while he kind of got tired of them.
Yeah.
It seems how most teenagers are.
Yeah, no, it's a tough audience to grab, right? Because it's hard to say what you guys are gonna like. I mean, are you into manga? Like, do you like manga? Do you read that at all? Or
I
no?
don't, but I know a lot of people do in my
Yeah,
school.
that's
And
huge,
But
dude. That is
his
huge. That's a huge
twin
audience.
brother was into manga, and I would always ask him, what is it that attracts you to it? What is it that's so different? And these are things that like I tell other creators, you should be asking these people. Go out to the LCSs, and whenever you have a customer who's this age, ask them, because I don't know what age you were when you started. You mentioned it earlier, but I was a teenager.
Yeah.
I was a teenager. I was about 14 or 15, and it was the LCSs that really pulled me in.
You know, it's funny, Paul. You say that, because, and I agree with you 100%. I think you're a big advocate of this too. Is that, we're gonna age out, right? You and
Yeah,
I eventually we're not. So who's gonna read? Who's gonna read these comics? It's gonna be the younger audience, right? So we have to kind of cultivate the young audience to do that. And you're right. I was 12 when I started reading comics,
yeah,
going into a teenage, and I was and at the time I was picking them up from the drugstore or from the
yeah,
bodega down the street. You know what I mean? Like in the spinner racks. That's why I was getting my comics, and I wasn't worried about the condition of the comic book because I was
yeah.
gonna kill it anyway, right? I wasn't worried about collecting it at the time. I had no idea what a collector was. Now I feel like people collect these things and they
Yeah.
barely read them. They just sit.
But
They just sit
that
pretty on their
that's the
shelves.
older crowd that's doing that, and it's like
Yeah, no,
I think you need to
100%.
target the
Yep.
younger. You need to target that younger one, because where is that next level of audience going to come from? I
Yeah.
don't think it's going to be the younger ones, the younger ones. I mean, if they forget at this age, because that's what I feel. The young ones, the kids, they pick it up because they like it. The beautiful colors, the stories that kind of pull them in. But if they forget it at this age, then they're not going to read it at this age.
And that's it,
And
and we're done. Yeah.
yeah, so I think it's a continuous thing. You got to definitely hook them as a kid, but you got to keep them as a teenager. Otherwise, they're going to be gone.
Yeah. 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 And the stories have to be interesting. You know what I mean? It's got to be. They have to interest you guys. What are you into? Reading. Like, what kind of stuff do you like to read?
Right now, I'm trying to get into the new Titans, the new Teen Titans, the older comic.
He's reading
But
George
is it?
Perez. series of Teen Titans.
But
Or
is it action adventure? That's what you like? You like
Yeah.
the action? You like the adventure kind of side? Okay.
I like the
yeah.
action adventure. Yeah.
whenever we first started doing this project, because this, my comics were projects at home, and it was, us writing and hanging out at the house kind of thing. They were always telling me, these comics are either too young or too old, too mature for us. So that's the reason most of my comics were aimed for teenagers, a little bit mature, but not too mature for them, right?
Yeah.
And they basically picked the ones I wrote or the ones I produced. PTSD was kind of the exception, but Bushibu and Cryptic Haze was kind of their input into them. Prelude to Aurora was
Editors
it was for the
artist
artists.
appreciation.
But even still, I went to you guys,
Yeah, we talked about it.
got your advice and asked what y'all liked and stuff and what you didn't like. And that's what I think that a lot of creators nowadays kind of forget is that teenage market.
Yeah. It's a big market, man.
And that's why I say, Barbie's doing great, because where were those movies that were aimed for younger girls and that nostalgia age? You had G.I. Joe that came to movies for us, Transformers, you had all the Marvel stuff and DC stuff, but where was that nostalgia movie for the girls? And then here came Barbie.
Yeah, have you guys watched it? I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it. No.
You need to call my friend. Both of them. They both watched it.
Yeah, they loved it.
I didn't pick on them or anything.
Yeah, he definitely didn't pick on them.
No.
But if it comes on a stream thing, I'll probably watch it. As far as paying for it, if I had a daughter or had a reason to go, I would definitely go.
You'd go.
But
Gotcha.
not by myself.
So you guys enjoyed Blue Beetle though? You like Blue Beetle?
Yeah, it's better than the Flash.
Have you seen it?
Yeah. I did. I saw it. Yeah.
I thought it was okay. To me,
it was a good time.
I guess I was upset with the
Emotional parts.
Yeah. Well, the emotional parts to me didn't hit as much as it should have. I felt like if you've seen the Flash, emotional parts in the Flash hit a lot more.
Well, yeah. You know what it is? Okay, so let me I don't know, spoiler alert. Are we allowed to spoil some of this stuff?
Sure.
Now people should have seen it.
People get off.
So,
you don't want to hear it.
So basically, I think I know what you're talking. The part where the father, has a heart attack, right? I feel like they jumped too quick. They got out of that moment too fast. It was too fast. They, instead of sitting on that for a little bit and letting me kind of like, oh wow, this. The next thing was just okay. Grandma came out. Yeah, grandma came out. Okay, what are we gonna do? No time to cry right now. Which I understood and I got the sentiment. That was cool because at the end she says now we can cry, and that was nice. But if they would have just stayed with that just a little longer, let me just say
5 more minutes,
just a little bit. Yeah, that beat was too fast. It was too fast. You know what I'm saying?
So it was that, and to me it was the subtitles. Whenever they were speaking Spanish.
You didn't like the subtitles? Okay.
Well, and I don't mind a subtitle movie. I like Pan's Labyrinth, and I like, there's, I watched, again, what was that? Squid Games with subtitles. So I can watch something with subtitles, but the way they used them, to me, it felt wrong. And I guess maybe because I know a little bit of Spanish that I could tell the translation was off.
Yeah.
But to me, the way they used it, it didn't need to be done that way.
Gotcha.
So
okay.
Those two things really kind of hit me and just made it okay, I guess.
I say it's better than the Flash. A movie's not a movie if it stands on cameos.
The Flash had great cameos.
And not for nothing, bro. Like, and I don't know how you feel about the Flash, Paul, but I felt like those cameos were weak, bro. Like I was like, I swear to God. I love Christopher Reeve. That's my Superman, right? I love that guy. But
Nicolas Cage?
the way they used him, and the funny thing about Nicolas Cage, they filmed him as. Why would they use a CGI? Like I just think the way they handled that was just way off, dude. It could have been so much better. But the fact
that they did do it, it was.
Well, listen, DC's got the most. I mean, Warner Brothers, they got everything. Like they shouldn't be struggling the way they are. They have the most iconic like characters, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I think the Blue Beetle could have been better. To me, the
I'm
Flash
sure-
and Blue Beetle were just about.
I'm sure they could
But
have
you-
been better, but
but you know what? I think that in talking about what the younger audience likes, I think this is it, right? Here's a young kid that you can see yourself as. You know what I'm saying? Here's this Spanish kid, Latino kid, whatever you want, and he's doing his thing. He's got this really cool costume that we still don't know where the thing went up, how he got inside of him, but that's part of the joke, right? Like,
yeah,
and he was, and listen, Solo. I don't know if you guys watch Cobra Kai. He
yeah.
can really do some of that martial arts
Yeah.
stuff. So he was perfect for the role. So I can totally see the
Oh yeah.
appeal, and that's the audience. Like, you're the audience, dude. Like, I'm a little upset that not as many people have gone out to see it though. That stinks because that movie should be making more money than it is, to be honest. Because I think it's a fun time. It's a good time at the movies. It's just a fun.
No,
movie.
I mean it's a rough period that they put it in. And,
Yeah.
and the fact, like I
strike.
said, you don't know whether it was going to be part of the DCU. If it wasn't going to be part of the DCU, then it was head to head with Barbie. It had so many things against it.
True.
But-
And
but like I
Oppenheimer.
said-
Like they definitely should have moved it. They definitely should have probably released it later. Yeah.
To me, it was okay to good. I'm not saying it was bad. It was okay to good.
It's better than what most of what DC's putting out there right now. Okay.
So would you guys recommend? Well, I know you would recommend it, but Paul,
Yeah.
you wouldn't recommend it.
I would tell someone that it was worth the money once, but that's it.
Damn. All right.
I mean, I was
I got
glad I saw it in the theater. I was glad I saw it with my son. It was a whole family thing, but the movie itself kind of let me down in a few areas. The areas you talked about, and then to me, him fighting the villain. There was, he
Well,
didn't
we've
really.
seen it, right? We've seen it before. That's the problem. Unfortunately, we've seen that somewhere like Iron Man did it, Ant-Man did it. You know what I mean? Where they fight kind of the similar.
Yeah, you know what I read too. Yeah.
Go on.
What
So
happened?
people are saying Blue Beetle is a ripoff of Ant-Man.
Oh, okay. All right. Wow. Damn.
Well, like I said, to me, that ending, he didn't really do much with the villain. I was upset with the scientist guy who let him out and sacrifice.
And like shut the door on himself.
Why didn't he just go out with them?
And
He's
he
like,
had a
"Here
one
you go,
gruesome
go out."
death,
Okay.
too.
Oh,
He had a bad death. That death
Yeah.
was crazy. Yeah.
why didn't he go out there with them? Lock the door behind both of them. And again, like I said, Blue Beetle himself didn't exactly take down the bad guy. It was the bad guy that took down the bad guy.
Right.
So I was
Which
like,
I didn't like that either, though. I didn't
this
like
is
that.
what I'm saying. Those
I
things
didn't
made
like
it.
the. You know what it is with that villain? I loved like the way they told us his backstory in like 2 minutes.
Yes.
I was like,
Yeah.
holy cow! Like that was great, and the way they did it, because they did it. They didn't usually you see it from when he was a little kid all the way to when he's a grown. No, they did it backwards. They did it from when he was an older dude to what happened to him as a kid, and I was like, wow, that's brilliant, right? That's good. But then at the very end, his mom tells him to, hey, kill
Yeah.
this chick, bring her over here. I'm like, really? That his mom
That
was
was-
telling him to do that?
Yeah.
Like that was weird, right? Like it was strange. I thought it was just me. I was like, that's kind of
To
weird.
me, the story missed a lot of beats that it shouldn't have. It was a good family movie, and it had,
Yeah.
like I was telling Dillon, Flash had 10 jokes, and out of those 10, just hypothetically, out of those 10 jokes, 1 or 2 was funny. Blue Beetle was the same way. It had like 10 jokes, but there were a lot of jokes that missed. And then the beats missed, the story beats. So it was good to watch because it was a family movie, and I enjoyed it with my kid, but
Who's your favorite character other than Blue Beetle? Like, who's your favorite character?
Out of DC or what?
No, in that movie. Like in that movie, who was like outside of the Blue Beetle, obviously, but outside of that,
I gotta
within
say the
that movie.
uncle. The uncle was the best part. Yeah.
George Lopez, yeah. You didn't like him, Paul? You didn't like that?
he was a little too over the top for me. A little too over.
too much.
I like George Lopez, but I mean, he was just in that movie a little over the top.
I got you. All right. Nah, yeah. I mean, I may have to go check it out again just to see if I missed anything. You know,
Well,
maybe
whenever it streams, I'll watch it. The other day, I was
dude,
watching Flash again, and he's like, "We watched it already."
Man,
dude, I should have gone. I should have gone on Sunday. You know, Sunday was like $4. I don't know if
Oh
it was like
yeah,
that for
the
you guys
four
too.
dollar
Yeah,
thing. That was
yeah,
huge.
that
Like
was
a
Sunday.
lot of these theaters band together and kind of did a $4 day to kind of give a price break to people.
and you couldn't have took me. I think we would.
You could have went on your own.
No, I couldn't have.
How
I
old
should
are
have
you?
gone, dude. And it was all of them. It was like all 3D movies, like all kinds of movies. They were
All
all
movies.
$4. I should have
I
gone to
could have
see
watched
Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer without you.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
want
dude.
to see
I should have
Oppenheimer.
gone.
We hadn't seen that one yet.
Yeah, we need to watch it.
There's
But
some
still,
movies out there, bro. It's just things aren't hitting like they thought they would. You know.
you're right. And talking about that subject of stuff not hitting in the entertainment world, have you heard this story about Disney selling Marvel?
Really?
Have you heard about this?
No.
So there's a story, and whenever I say story, is like, Bob Iger is the person in charge of Disney, right?
Mhm.
He actually said that they're entertaining the thought of selling
Really
Disney
interesting.
or possibly just Marvel to Apple.
Well, I heard that Disney was thinking about selling ESPN to Apple
Yeah,
because they also own that as well. Hey, what's up, Santar? Yeah, so I heard
but
about that, but I didn't hear about the whole Marvel thing. That's crazy.
yeah, they're talking about Marvel, possibly the entire catalog of Marvel going to Apple. Could you imagine Apple having control of it?
Disney's nuts, man.
I've
I
had a
heard
lot of
Apple made an offer. Yeah, she said she
I
heard
mean,
Apple made an offer.
I had a lot of
Yeah,
friends
Wow.
who mentioned that Disney's gonna be selling this and that off because they're hurting. But me personally, I don't think they're hurting that bad. And to think they just got X-Men, they just got Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
They could do so much huge stuff. I mean,
Oh
I
my
understand
God.
these shows that are kind of bombing or not hitting the strides that they should. But man, X-Men, Fantastic Four throwing into the MCU, everybody's waiting for this. They could be
Right,
making,
right.
missing out on millions of this. But this is an actual story that,
Might happen.
yeah, the CEO, I think he's a CEO of Disney, is saying that it's an actual thing that might happen soon, that they're talking about it, that there's an offer on the table. And how
That's
crazy
crazy,
is
man.
that?
Like all the money they've invested in Disney Plus to get rid of that whole catalog of stories. That's a lot
Yeah.
of money, man. That's a
And
lot.
that's
Just to
one
give
of
it to
the,
Apple, just not to give it to Apple, but to sell it over to Apple. You know how much money Apple's gonna make off of that stuff?
and that's
It's
one of the
insane.
reasons that Apple's supposedly wanting it is because of that catalog of Disney Plus. So Apple has Apple Plus on TV, and
I haven't
I
even
guess
watched
they're
it.
some great stuff on there. Great stuff. If you have a
There is good
chance,
stuff.
I mean, because I watched Silo. I was trying to watch Invasion that's coming up. That Ted. I forget the
Ted
name.
Lasso.
Ted. Yeah,
Ted
Ted
Lasso, yeah.
Lasso. That was
That
a
was good.
great show. Great show.
Yeah, that was
So I mean,
really good.
if you have Apple Plus, definitely check it out. Though the movie they have with Tom Hanks on it, great stuff.
That was that Ted Lasso show. That's really good writing, man.
Yeah.
It,
Well, I
it,
mean,
it catches you
all
off
the
guard.
shows, all
Yeah,
the show that
no,
I've
no,
seen
it's
on
good.
Apple Plus, it's a lot of good writing. The stories are
Yeah,
deep, and
yeah.
and it's like you don't expect it because it's this off the side station or something. I didn't expect it. Ted Lasso
Yeah.
wasn't about. It was the story. It was the
Yeah.
way it was layered that made it so well.
Yeah. They have if Disney what is it? Disney continues to make crap live action movies of its animated features. Disney one last till July. Yeah, man, that's scary. That's scary. Tom Holland has a show on Apple
Yeah,
TV called the Crowded Room. It's pretty
yeah.
good. Yeah, it's pretty good too.
No, I'm telling you, like Apple's hitting it in stride, but they're not hitting that marketplace kind of thing. So if they brought
Right.
that Disney Plus catalog and brought those fans over, you could just imagine how many more fans that they would bring in. But again,
Oh yeah.
this is just in the talks at the moment,
Mhm.
and for them to actually do something like sell it, the thing that would trickle down is you're also talking about Marvel Comics.
Mhm.
you know, and they would be in control of that. You don't know what would happen with those.
You know, it's like Deadpool could be a movie that could be great,
Yeah.
you know, but with the writer's strike going on, who knows when we're gonna get that movie? Who knows what's gonna be in the movie? You know, because if what's his name can't ad lib, or if they can't do, you know, some of that stuff that they were doing for the other one, it's not gonna be the same movie.
Well,
So
and the
we'll
thing
see.
about it is,
I really hope Deadpool does well. You know.
the thing about it is, I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was telling him, you know, they just advertised that Disney has gotten a group of a division just study how they can bring AI into everything, including the art, including the movies. I mean, they literally are made a division to integrate AI art, AI period, storytelling, art, movie wise. So they're going to move forward with AI, which is a huge thing, and this might hamper the strike. Because how are the people going to contend with
Right.
Disney actually welcoming AI?
Yeah. That's gonna be
I
something
mean,
else.
they already started with Secret Invasion. They had that AI in the title frame, and
I was
you
just
don't know
gonna
where
ask you
else.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, you just don't know what's going to happen just now. Right now, everything's kind of up in the air.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? I wasn't even that impressed with that opening, bro. I was like, really? This is what we're doing with AI? Like this is trash.
Well,
But I guess they were going for a special kind of look, I guess, for it. You know what I mean? Like that's what they were going for. So, you know. But I don't know, man. Do you think AI is ready? Do you think that like as comic book creators, do you think we're in trouble when it comes to AI?
I have a unique vision on it, and most people don't like my opinion. But my opinion is simply this: AI is here. It's not illegal. If you're going to badger someone who's using it, you got to understand that this isn't illegal. It's here to stay. And what I think is these people who are against AI, if you really want to do something, you got to band together, pull money together. You need to strike. You need to do something big. Because if you're not
Right.
doing something, then you're really doing nothing against it.
See, the way I look at AI is the way maybe people looked at Photoshop back in like the early 80s, right? Or 90s. The colorists that
Yeah.
started losing jobs to Photoshop because comic books were no longer being colored by hand. They were not going to be colored by a computer. And I think that whenever if you don't learn how to use the tool, you're just going to
Right.
lose your job, right?
Then that's the
And I think that
thing.
that's
Yeah.
something similar to what we're talking about now, where like you said, AI is here to stay. Now, I will say I don't know that AI can do sequential art the way a human can do right now. Not right now. Not right now. Maybe eventually, right? But because you still have to put in the prompts, a human still has to put in the prompts to make it happen, right? And
Have
I
you
don't
seen it?
and from go ahead, what was that?
Have you seen it? Have you seen the AI comics?
No, have you are they good? Really good, really. Yeah.
If you got the right person knowing what they're doing, and I will say this, even though I tell people AI's here, I'm not going to use it. I'm not going to use it. I've had a lot of people tell me to use it, and I've looked into how well it is and how some people are doing it, and I've looked into the comics that are out there. Man, it's pretty darn good. If you
So
got the right
let
person
me ask you.
using the prompt.
Right. So let me ask you this. So the books that you have seen, do they rival the big twos? Like if you looked at them, could you say, yo, that's better than what, say Ed McGuinness can draw or Ramita Jr. can do? Like is it
Having,
that good?
having asked that question, whenever you're talking about the big two standard, it's been lowered quite a bit.
Yeah.
So, having said that, yes, it rivals what's out there. Does it rival the
Really?
top, like 1% of artists? Probably not. But again, they've
I
lowered
have
their
to see
standards.
this.
They've
Well,
had
it's
a.
funny.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it's funny that you say that because one of my friends, he's an artist. he picked up like a cover of like, and I can't remember which cover it was, and he was like, dude, how did they get away with this
How
stuff?
do they?
Like, where's the editor? Like, who let this go through? And it's like, is it that the editor doesn't care, or it's a comic, it doesn't matter, it really, this is we draw these comics for nothing, like it's they don't mean anything to, or is the level of art out there is just not the same. And it's like it's kind of sad, dude, because like we said, Marvel and DC are the standard, right?
Yeah, yeah. And but that's the thing. It's like, okay, so there's artists out there that AI can't touch. I don't think. But are they all are they working for Marvel and DC? Not really. You know,
Mm.
as far as AI being close to the standard of what Marvel and DC is, yeah, I think if you look at the bottom stuff of Marvel and DC, the AI art is comparable, and that's sad,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
that's the way it is.
yeah. I mean, and to Sansa's point, yeah, AI is a tool. But I have to check out some of those books, bro, that you're talking about, because I really would like to see for myself how good these things really are. Because I don't see, from the AI art that I've seen, there doesn't seem to be any consistency unless they found a way to do it,
Well,
and the
here's the
characters
thing.
all look the same.
So here's the thing. Like I said, I had some friends who told me, "Why learn to draw?" Because I'm starting to learn to draw myself. I don't know if you noticed it. I try to post it
Yeah,
on
yeah,
my
I've seen them.
Facebook. So
Absolutely.
I'm
Yeah.
trying to learn to draw, and they're like, "Why learn to draw? Just go get AI and then make a picture and then fix the mistakes." These are artists who have been in the industry for 5 years or so. Just fix the mistakes. So some of these people who are putting AI art out there, you know, they're fixing the mistakes, and you can't even tell.
Yeah, well, I gotta look, man. I gotta look. I just when I think of comic book art, I have a specific way and you're right. I mean,
Yeah.
whether the quality of it has diminished a bit in even at the top level or not, I still think that there is something about that kind of art that's very different than what a computer can do right now. But again, I would have to take a look at those books that you're talking about to really,
Yeah.
make an assessment on that, because
To me, it's not
it's
the
out
art.
there. It's out there.
I guess to me, it's not the art itself, and this is probably why I have a different view. To me, it's the commodity. The way that you're working with your artist. I made this last book of mine because of my artists, and it was like that combination. Jack Kirby and Stan Lee. You had these people that were coming together and making a great work of art together. And I think that it loses something in translation whenever you go to AI. This is why I won't use it. It's not the ethical thing of what everybody else says. It's the fact that I think that there's like a beautiful dance, and this is the book is a product. That's what I think. And to throw AI art in there, I think it's travesty. But again, it's not illegal, so I don't.
See,
I want.
no, I was gonna say I think AI is good for like concept art. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? If you're even if you're trying as a writer, and this is gonna be blasphemous to artists as well, but even if you as a writer you're trying to create a character and you don't want the whole Ditko Stan Lee thing, like who created Spider-Man, you know what I mean? So you type in a prompt, say I want this character to be 6'2", look like this, have this, and then the computer kind of creates it and draws it for you. Now you can say, yeah, I did that through AI, sure, but I created that character, you know what I mean? So for
Well,
concept art like that, maybe.
I see that it's a tricky subject, the tightrope to kind of. I say if you use AI art, you can't ever say anything bad about it because you use it for anything.
Yeah, yeah, right.
So like whenever you're talking about the concept stuff, I know I went through that stuff. So I drew. It was horrible, wasn't it? I drew my first characters, and then I went
Yep.
and hired a character designer to improve it, and then my illustrator was a different person altogether. So anyone couldn't say that they did the first drawing of it except me. And then
Right.
my character designer did a different rendition, and then the illustrator did a third, which actually was like fifth, right? Sixth versus right. Anyway, it was like one of those things that you couldn't track down that first person except me doing my characters. but that's the way I did it. You know, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it's crazy.
It's yeah, no, it is. It's an interesting topic, dude, and it is one of those topics that's very polarizing, right? Some people hate it, some people love it. Yeah,
Speaking
I
of,
look at it both ways, dude.
speaking of AI and writing and stuff like that, I thought you were a great guest for this next topic, and that was you know, that was handling multiple projects.
Mm.
You have a lot of projects going on at the moment, don't you?
I do. Well, I do. So I have Russ
Right.
5377, which is the first one that I put out way back in the day. And right now, if you guys are interested, the digital copies are on the Any One World, so anyoneworld.com. You can download the first three issues. I'm putting them out every month. So I created that way back in like '99, bro, and I started putting it out. Then I have one. Then I have Wonder Duck. Obviously, Wonder Duck is if you go to getyourmeds.com, you can pick up the graphic novel. It's 88 pages. I'm working on the second part of that graphic novel. What's that I do? Eight guys are good for brainstorming ideas, visually and storytelling ideas, but it should never be set in stone.
Oh,
At some point, you're gonna have to take it over. It's good practice. Yeah, I think for that, like brainstorming and developing, I think it's a good way. But speaking about the stuff that I got going on, yeah. So Wonder Duck is available on my website. It's also available through Darkfire Press. They're my publisher. And then I'm currently working on two other stories simultaneously, which I normally don't do. But I'm like, yo, you get inspired and you just start writing. So I'm working on two stories, which I'm gonna be sending to an editor, one of them, and then start getting drawn. But yeah, dude, you don't stop as a creator. You just when you're in the zone, you just create. You just create.
Yeah.
Now, I know that there's a school of thought of stick to one until it
Right.
hits, right? Or you can just create until you're blue in the face. For
Do you
me,
think?
if go
Do you
ahead, no, no,
think it?
go ahead, Paul, ask me.
Do you think it suffers if you're using multiple projects as opposed to just the one?
Okay, so as a writer, the writer in me is
Yeah.
never gonna stop creating. I just can't. I cannot stop creating. So that's the writer in me. As a business person, do I think that the focus needs to be on one thing and see what happens? Yeah, there's a school of thought to that. Because I'll tell you this. Whenever I used to do conventions with like buddies, we used to get together and say, for example, we started a company and we had a bunch of titles at the table. It was always harder to sell
Really?
a bunch of books versus when we focused on one book and everybody was just selling that one book because that was the one book everybody was selling. So all their effort was into selling that one book, right?
Well,
As
that's
opposed to
interesting.
everybody competing for their book to sell. Hey, okay, I'm trying to sell Russ. My friend's trying to sell another book. My friend's trying to sell another book. So human nature says I'm going to try to sell my book. So and everybody knows their pitch. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just
I
saying
hear
human
what you're
nature
saying.
because sometimes it takes over. Right. Now,
I don't know.
if you guys have that mindset of say, okay, look, listen, we're all gonna help each other out. Let's make this happen. Yeah, you can totally try it. It's just it gets tough. Like when you're in the trenches, when you're actually in it, you'd be surprised what happens, man, and how
So
it turns out.
I've only been in it about 2 years or so, going on 2 years in a few months, and I feel having multiple books actually kind of helps out because I had a friend ask me. It was like, you have to target your comics to a certain audience, and I'm like, why? There's such a small audience for comics already. I want to target everyone who likes comics, and if anybody who likes a comic comes to my table, then I have a catalog because I've got four books.
uh,
So here's what I'll say about that, and that's a good point. But you are the art, you are the creator of all those books. I'm
Having
talking
said
about when
that,
there's more. I'm talking about when there's more than one person. You know what I'm saying?
well,
When there
I
when
could
there's more than.
understand
But go
the
ahead, go
more
ahead.
than one person thing, but having
Yeah.
said that, I really wish that I had a kid kind of comic. Because none of my comics are they're all probably PG-13. And I've gotten a lot of kids that came up to my table. Hey, look, a circus
circus.
book, and none of my books are kid friendly. So it's like I have to explain that to the parents.
But
If I had somebody else's book that was a kid friendly book, then I could cover that catalog or category for my customers. I think, and this is just my opinion, if you have the right person, because some people are just salespeople. I think I could sell, you know, strand of hair to this guy.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, here's the thing, Paul. Here's the thing, and you said something interesting, right? So you know that you have a book that's PG-13. So you have a target audience. You do.
Well, yeah.
Like you already have a target. That is your audience. Now, if everybody else enjoys it, that's awesome. That's an added bonus. But you do have a target audience, and I think that companies in general, if you look at toys, you look at a toy, it'll say from ages this to that. Doesn't mean that you
Right.
can't buy it, Paul. But the appropriate age for that is 7+, because a
Well,
4-year-old can choke on that piece of thing or whatever.
no,
So
I
you
agree.
do need a target audience. You know what I'm
I,
saying?
I do agree.
Just to kind of get the ball rolling.
Whenever there's a certain type of person that comes to my table, because I was telling my friend this, I was like, look, I try to get anybody who likes comics to come to my table. Once they do, then I can kind of, hey, you're a guy from 18 to 35, you probably like PTSD better. If you're a girl,
Right.
because it seems like the girls kind of gravitated towards Bushibu circus. So if I get a girl that comes up, I try to show her Bushibu first because of the romantic stuff that's involved, and the storytelling. It seems to gravitate towards girls, and that's the experience that I found at the conventions. But before they come to the table, it's like, do you like comics? Well, that's not my pitch. I find that's too an open-ended pitch, but it's like, hey, come here, I've got something you like, and then that's whenever I start to kind of shift them towards what I think they might like.
Absolutely, dude. I think that if you're at a comic book convention, you're expecting people to like comics, right? That's
Well,
so the audience is, yeah, right, exactly. Nowadays you never know. But you expect it. You hope that the people that are in there buy the comics. Now, once they get to the table, that's when you could break it down. Like even for me, Wonder Duck, right? Wonder Duck is for a younger audience. Now, does that mean that Paul may not enjoy it? Sure, Dillon may enjoy it too. But that book is geared more towards a younger audience. Maybe kids, maybe 9, 10, 11 years old, maybe a little younger than that, That's the demographic for that. Because when parents ask me, and that's the thing with parents, right? The thing that I can't say, I think I never use is all ages. Because all ages is relative. What does that mean?
right.
What does all ages mean? You know what I mean?
But
To a
and a lot of the
parent,
creators,
an all age book may not be good for my kid. They want to know what's the age. What's
a
the
lot
age?
of creators
To know
kind
what
of fall into that trap. They're like, my book's great for everybody, and it's like you do definitely have to, I guess, gravitate it towards a more target of an audience. But before, I guess, you get to that point, I like I said, the audience just for comics itself is small enough as is. I don't want to break it down even smaller before you get to that sales point. And if I had, like I said, I've talked to other creators that had other books, fantasy books, superhero. I've never written a superhero book. If I had a superhero book at my table, I feel that I could get a customer that's not interested in my books to buy that one. If I had a customer that was interested in kid books, if I had a kid book at my table, even though it wasn't mine, I know I could push theirs. I haven't had that many people that actually were willing, how do you say it, to get into a situation where we exchange books to sell for each other, because they're like, yeah, in that mentality, I can't sell anyone else's stuff, and I'm like, I can sell everybody's stuff. You give me a book, I can sell it. But I guess that's just me.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think because and to go back to like your the age things, right? When I sell a book like Russ, for example, I'll tell people, hey, listen, this is the kid in the book is 17 years old, so automatically he's going through things that 17-year-olds or 18-year-olds go through.
Right.
So that is the audience for that, 18, 17 and over. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna a kid that's maybe 10 years old may not understand it. They may like it because it's action, it's adventure, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. So they may like it, but who did I write that for is for that age group. So I think there is that, and like you said, it's good to have the mentality that you have, dude. And I think that's the mentality that when you first come in the game and you have that hunger to sell your stuff, that's the attitude you have. as I think as you grow within the industry, you start saying, okay, that worked for me here. Let me see if that works for me over here, and you start picking apart the things that didn't work.
Right.
Hopefully it doesn't make you bitter and hate everything. Because it happens to some people. But I think if you keep that positive attitude of I can sell anything, then
Yeah.
hell, sell everything, bro. Sell it. Don't stop
So,
selling.
so having talked
Saying,
about
all
that,
right,
I
she's out. It's late in the
wanted to get
evening.
into that big subject that we had going on, and that
Yeah.
what really brought this big subject was this article. I don't know
Oh,
if you've
okay.
seen it. It was Mark Miller saying, some legendary creators need to come back to the big two to kind of help them out because they're failing a little bit.
A
And
lot of it.
it led me to a lot of conversations that I've had with friends, and one of my friends was saying that the comic industry is missing Stan Lee. He was a big figurehead. He was a big person that brought people together. And I was also having other conversations. Could there be another image? Could there be independents that band together and do something for the greater good of the industry?
Yeah.
And that really brought the subject up. What would you give up for the industry to do better and not have expectations for yourself? I mean, I don't think there's many creators out there right now that would be willing to give an inch. And I don't know if that's sad because a lot of people expect so much from the industry. Why wouldn't you give something? There was a hashtag that went around that comics killed me.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Oh yeah. Comics.
There
Yeah,
was
I remember
an
that.
interview with the guy, and he was saying, "Really, comics saved me." And I think along that way. Whenever this happened, it wasn't that I was trying to get into comics. I wasn't trying to make money. It was, I had lost my job. The kids were out of school. We were trying to figure out something to keep the morale up. It was, and it just happened that it was comics.
So let me ask you this, Paul. So when you say what title would you give up to save the industry? What do you mean by save it? What does
Well,
that mean?
and it's not specifically a title. What would you give up? What would you do for the industry? Like recently, I had an idea, and I was telling one of my editors, I was like, what would be good for the industry is if you had one of these big books like the Keanu Reeves. If you had like the Keanu Reeves, and you did a reality show, and you brought like a creator on each one of these reality shows and spotlighted them. Even if it was Frank Miller, if it was a name, or even if it wasn't a name, but the whole purpose was to bring attention to the comic industry. And I said, this is an idea that I had. If anyone ever ran with it, I would hope that it would do good for the industry. Would my name have to be attached? No. I mean, I want to do good for the industry, not only because it would help, you and others out, but it would help the industry out. We recently ran, a special on Any One World where PTSD was every penny that was paid throughout that month went to charity. And I'm not exactly rich. We're hurting for money every once in a while, right? So it's like the thing about it is comics have helped us so much. We want to give thanks. Do other creators give thanks? Do other creators want to band and make this industry better? Would I give up my IPs for the industry? I would give up all of my IPs for the industry to make it better.
But when you say give up, what do you mean give up?
Well, there was one of my favorite shows where they were talking about this project where this main character was doing this project, and it was going to be a huge project that was going to be known nationwide. And he was like, the only way I could get this project done is if I took my name off of it and let other people have the credit for it. You know, I don't think other creators want to band together because they feel like they're going to lose part of their IP, even a piece. And like I said, me personally, I would give up all of my IPs just to make the comic industry better. The friend of mine that I was talking to, he hosts a show himself, and he was like, he wanted to go around and talk to all these creators and see how he could help them out because he felt like things were a little bit bad. What could he do to make it better? And I talked to a lot of creators, and I'm like, what would you give up to make the industry better? And just about everybody's like, I wouldn't give up my IP. I would.
You'd probably give me up first, though.
My kids are the only thing I wouldn't give up. But I mean, what would you give up for the industry? Because the industry is giving like me so much.
Right. So, so the way I look at it is this, right? I would love to wake up tomorrow morning and not have to go to my 9 to 5, but do this, create comics and live that life of just creating comics and selling my books. And when I say selling my books, I mean, people are reading them. They love them. You know what I'm saying? And that's all I do every day, all day, 9
And
to
that's the dream
5.
for most
That's
people.
my job. Right. So in order to do that, though, realistically, you have to make money, right? And the money. So what happens is when you talk about giving up an IP that can possibly give you that life for the sake of, say, for example, saving an industry that obviously nobody cares about because Disney is ready to sell it, right? Disney's ready to sell it. People aren't buying comics like they used to. Everybody complains about how bad the art is, how bad the stories are. You hear that a lot, not just us talking tonight, but in general, people that's the way people feel. So I think that the way to save the industry is not necessarily giving your IP away, but making a story, a strong, like putting the effort in to make these stories mean something to people. What Stan Lee did back in the days, right? What he was doing. He saw a need and he said, you know what? Everybody's doing comic books about superheroes and older superheroes. Let me give them a teenager, dude. Let me
Right.
give them Spider-Man. Let me give Spider-Man problems that kids have. Forget about Superman. He has no issues other than he's Superman and he's got to worry about not hurting people with his superpowers. No. Let me give this kid real issues. And that sold. And granted, it was a different era. Things
It
were
was.
very different. You know what I mean? It was very different. You could say maybe it was even more innocent than it is today. Kids aren't entertained the same way they are today. But I think the answer to saving the industry is creating these iconic characters that will live on beyond our days here, right? Like Spider-Man does today. And in order to do that, you have to put forth the effort to do it. I don't think you have to give up your IP. I don't think giving up your IP is the
I
answer
don't. I
because
don't think you
what
have
happens is,
to.
Paul, yeah, because what happens is, Paul, is like you give up a great idea, somebody else is going to make the money. If it's not you, somebody else is going to make the money, and now you're left with, okay, well, let me start all over again and see if somebody else is down to save the industry all over again. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah, but
it sounds very cynical, and like I've been hurt before, like I got to go talk to somebody. But unfortunately, the reality is people are constantly trying to take, you know what I'm saying, and see how far they can get away with taking something and making money off of the back of what you just did,
well,
kind of
and I'm
thing.
not
You
saying
know what I'm
to
saying?
be gullible or let somebody take. I've had
Yeah.
recently. I've had somebody who was trying to take advantage of me, and I'm not going to talk about that situation. But
Yeah. It
if it
happens, right?
would have
Yeah.
been good for the industry, I think I would have let it be. I think right now there's a lot of stuff that people are missing. One of my old co-hosts of a show, Manny, what's his last name? Car. You know Manny's last name?
Nope.
He hosts this stuff. It's called free or not free. Indie Comic Day. I don't know if you've heard of this. Indie Comic Day. Every year he promotes the heck of it. He's also promoting like he promotes comics for kids, but in a different way. And he takes them to the hospital, and he's doing
That's
like
cool.
so much stuff. it's like my hat's off to this guy because he's doing so much stuff, but he's not doing it in a way that it's being seen or stuff. I think if he could be marketed better, his books, the way what he's doing could really take off.
Yeah.
But it's like a lot of people are out there just kind of for themselves and don't see the stuff, the great stuff that's going on. I've been on several shows and I've been with several publishers, and I've dealt with several artists, and I understand there's a lot of people out there that are just for themselves, but when does it come that you're going to be out there for the comic industry?
Yeah,
because everybody does seem like, I wouldn't do that. I don't want to lose a penny. I'm like,
no, but you know what, you made, I mean, that the gentleman that you're talking about, that sounds like a great thing, right? Indie comics, whatever. I think he needs to have more of a presence. And sometimes, and I don't know him, so I don't know what his personality is like. Is he the type of person that wants to go on these shows and talk about what he's doing, or is he more of a recluse person?
No, he's a great guy. He was a co-host of the show with me on Comics Crusader, and we were doing that every week. It was me, him, and another guy.
So let me ask you this, and obviously, if I don't want to pry, but why did you guys stop doing the show together?
Comic Crusaders. The reason we stopped doing it was the host had a child. He had a lot of stuff coming up, so he couldn't exactly do it. At that point, also, I decided I wanted to start doing my own show, and one of the things I was going to do was talk about subjects that people don't exactly like talking about. And one of the subjects I wanted to talk about was Comicsgate. I'm not Comicsgate, but I feel like a lot of new indie creators should hear, my perspective of Comicsgate, should hear the perspective of somebody who's not in the big two or not in Comicsgate, kind of a neutral perspective. And whenever I was talking to that, station or in channel or whatnot, they really didn't want the words Comicsgate even spoken. So it was like I moved on from that area. Manny was a great guy. He didn't. I don't think he stayed on the internet. I mean, he posts everything every once in a while whenever his book comes out, but he posts every year whenever him and his group do the Indie Comics Day. Is it October?
Yeah. See, I think. Oh, when is it? When is Comics Day?
It's in October. I don't know what date specifically.
Oh, okay.
But yeah.
Okay. What I was gonna say too was, and this thing, it's happened even within like I used to run, and we're still best friends. Like these guys are my boys. We used to do this thing called Mass Media Studios, right? MAS, and it was me, it was my friend Anibal, and it was my friend Jonathan Syfax, and that was our names. Our names was Mas, MAS, Mas. Mas means more, right? In Spanish, Mas means was cool. But what happens is when you work in a collective like that, a lot of times, like you said just now, you wanted to talk about certain topics. Somebody said, no, we should talk about that topic. So what do? You say, all right, you know what? Then I'm just going to go on my own and do it. And that is the indie industry, right?
Right.
Everybody has something they want to express. And if the group won't allow it, then we're just going to go do it independently, which is indie, right? It's what indie is. And I think that's another reason why what you're talking about is hard to do.
Right.
Because the minute Paul has an idea about I should do it this way, somebody's going to say, I don't want to do that. I'm going to step away. And that's why it's so, and you may have the best intentions, bro. And there may be 15 of you with the best intentions, but all it takes is just that one person that says, I don't want to do it. And then all of a sudden, everything.
And I'm not talking about, having to do a collective. Like that's not exactly, I'm not, that's something that I've asked about, but I wouldn't exactly, pursue that because I don't think I'm of myself as a leader kind of person. I think if there was a leader, then I would be willing to join that kind of thing. But I'm talking about the industry itself. Like Manny's by himself and he's doing this thing with the Indie Comics Day, and this is something that helps everybody.
I love that
because I mean it's a great thing, but it's not seen as much. And like, what are other people doing that's not helping their project specifically, but helping the industry?
Yeah.
And that's a
Well,
question
you know what?
I don't think anyone's going to answer. I just think
Yeah.
that that's the
See,
question that needs
a
to be
lot
asked.
of you know it's funny, man. A lot of that stuff goes unnoticed, right? The good things, right? You'll hear
Yeah.
about the bad things. You heard about Comicsgate. You heard, not saying that that's necessarily bad, but that was controversial, right? But
Yeah.
you hear about comic books killed me or whatever. You hear about that hashtag, right? That's everywhere. That goes viral because
Right.
whenever you used to sit down before the internet, you always used to sit down at 6 o'clock and watch the news. The news was usually bad news. It
Yeah.
wasn't news about some great thing that happened today. It was how many people got killed, or what
Right.
happened. This person's missing, or oh, what happened at that tragedy that happened on that train. Like it's always just that goes viral. It's the good things like what you're talking about, what your
Yeah.
friend is doing. That stuff doesn't go viral, right? You
No.
giving the proceeds of your PTSD book, that doesn't go viral, right? That stuff is hard to sell it. It's hard
Yeah.
to sell it.
No,
You know
I
what I mean?
understand. I
And that's
understand
what
the
we have
good
to
stuff
find
is
out
kind of
how to
hard.
sell that stuff. Yeah, how do
But
we sell it? That's what we got to find out.
well, like I said, this is a question that I don't think is going to be answered, but needs to be asked.
Yeah. Oh no,
I don't
I
think
agree with you, bro.
everyone's going to go group together and overnight change the comic industry. But it's the kind of question that I think every creator should ask themselves. Not only what am I doing for my project, but what am I doing for the comic industry? Because this is the house that you're in. Your project is
Mhm.
part of this entire house, this group, this army, this family of friends. But what is everyone doing to help the industry itself? I'm just saying. That's really the
Yeah,
question.
no, I think what to in order to start answering that also, man, I think it's like, okay, what like yeah, what is everybody doing to help it? But what does it mean to help it? Right? What does it mean? Does it mean does it mean getting more eyes on comics from people that normally don't read comics? Is it getting, you know, people like Dylan's age to start reading more books? And how do
Yeah.
we do that? You know what I mean? But the problem with that is, right, when you jump on Kickstarter, for example, right? What do you see when you open up that thing selling the most things? It's just boobs all over the place, right? Are you as a parent going to let Dylan read that right now? Maybe not. Maybe when he's 25 or whenever you decide that, yeah, you can go ahead and read your own books for like that. But that's what's out there, right? So it's not necessarily something that Dylan's going to be able to read right now.
Right.
But that's what's selling. That's what's moving, bro. That's what's making that needle move. And it's sad, man. It's sad. And then the other thing is this, and I don't know how you feel about this, but and I don't know how much you sell your comic books for, and I don't mean to offend you, Paul, but
No problem.
I feel like comic books are being sold for too much money, even at conventions.
Yeah.
Where a young person like Dylan who has maybe $20 in his pocket, and that book is going to cost him the $20.
You
What's
took
Dylan going to do? He's going to say, "Hey, do you got anything for free? Because I'm not spending $20 on your book right now, bro. That's all I have in my pocket. I can't do that." You know what I mean? So
I
I
don't
think we
think
got to look into doing that too. Is dropping
I
those
don't think you
prices
understand
so
how
that it
much
becomes
kids
more
have in their
affordable.
pocket. I'm just saying. But I
Wait,
mean,
hold on. So Dylan, would you spend $20 on a comic? Yeah?
If I
You
had my
would.
money, the amount
Wait,
of
20,
money
24,
okay,
that
hold
we
on.
wait,
use on
24
credit,
pages.
This is a good question right
24
here.
pages?
The last comic book show, how
Yeah.
much comics work did you walk away with?
I don't know.
A few hundred. Because
Wait.
he took one of my original pages and traded that for some $100 worth of book. He
Wait,
took some of the proceeds and bought a few things. So it was a few hundred. Teenagers
so wait, hold on.
have
So
a
wait,
good
so you
amount.
took original pages and you
Hey,
sold them
What?
for comics. One. You
traded.
took one and
Yeah.
sold it for comics. How many comics did you get for it?
20, 10,
10, 15?
10, 15, yeah.
15 comics for original piece of art, which you sell how much? You sell that piece of art for how much?
100.
100.
$100. So 10. So you spent about $10 per book on that
Yeah.
thing, but it didn't come out of your pocket. Now let me ask you a question: if you had your
Well,
own money, would you spend that much?
Yes, he would.
It
Yeah, you
depends.
would.
He's
It
15.
depends.
He's 15. He's
On
about
what?
to
On what?
get a job. He's about to
Nice.
get a job. And I'm telling you, whenever you're 16, you have a job, you spend money left. I did.
No, that's true. No, I
That's
agree
you.
100%. But let me ask
You
you.
did it the
But
same
let me
way?
ask you a question. You said it depends on what? Depends on what?
If it's a good book, And if it's something I'm trying to find, something I'm trying to complete,
And if he likes the artist,
and if I like the artist,
because I
for me
guarantee
is
you,
the main thing.
I
obviously,
guarantee you
'cause
that he
all
will
this
buy.
art is mine.
I guarantee you, he will buy like $100 worth of Sam stuff.
You would,
Let
you
me
would,
tell you.
you would.
He's been at shows with Sam, and he went up there and took some of my money,
Hey, we don't talk
my
about that. I didn't
my
take
money. And who's he bought stuff from?
I got free stuff. What you talking about?
He did.
I'm just
he
cool
did
like that.
get free stuff.
I'm just cool like
Just
that.
cool like that. See, because to me the thing is this, right? I'll go to a convention, right, and I'll go up to the table, and I know what it's like to be behind that table, so I want to support as much as I can, dude. But when you're handing me a 24-page book and you're asking me to give you $10 for that 24-page book, that's a little much for me.
I'm with
You
you.
know what I'm saying?
But again, I'm poor.
That's a little much.
Having said that, at the conventions, the majority of people who buy books from me are younger people.
Oh,
Yeah.
And they come up with fat stacks. I mean, I don't know about
Damn.
your conventions, but the conventions that I've
Not
had,
here, bro. Not here. New Yorkers must be tight with their money, because I'm telling you, they will not spend money like that here. They won't.
So
They'll
let
go
me
buy
tell
the
you-
Funko Pop. They'll go spend $100 on a Funko Pop,
yeah.
but
let
they're
me let
not
me
going
tell
to
you.
spend it on an indie comic.
Let me tell you about this story because I tell this to my son. So this group of kids came up, and whenever I say kids, they were 18, 17, 18. They were in high school because they were all wearing high school shirts, all the same kind, right? And one of them came up, and they were really interested in my book, and they're like, I ain't got that much money, and I was like, I'll give you one of my demo books because usually they're misprints or whatever.
Yeah.
If you tell all your friends. They're like, if we like it, yeah. So they took the book. The next day, they brought back 10 people with them. And you know how many people bought my books that next day? 10 people. All 10
dude.
of their friends, which were the same age, started pulling out money and buying, the books.
Which book? Which book did they buy?
Well, the majority of them bought PTSD. Because that's the biggest seller on my table. But again, the girls bought, Bushy Boo Circus.
Right.
And
How much you sell PTSD for, Paul? How much you sell that for? $10. How big?
Well,
but that's a bigger book though. That's not.
No,
that's
it's 22 pages. 22
Yeah, okay.
pages. Bushy is 32.
So what we do is we sell the first comic for 10, the second, and any other comics you want after that, it's 5.
So it's a 15 for 2.
It's a bargain.
20 for 30. Yeah, I do packages. I try to do a little
it's a
savings
bargain.
every
You have to. You have to. Yeah, you have to.
But I mean,
I think part of when you talk about saving the industry, I think back in the days when I was buying comics, they were $1.25.
And I agree, man. If I can get to an offset printing where I can afford to buy,
me too.
a certain amount,
100%.
that cost of printing is expensive right now.
And I get that. That's what it is. It's the cost of printing that kills you. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I mean, Dillon, you're younger. Do you read on your do you like to read on the tablet, or do you prefer like the physical copy?
Oh God, I hate reading on my phone. That's horrible.
Okay. All right.
But I have some friends that read on their phone, and are like, they'd rather do that. So it's kind of.
I've actually offered the PDFs on a memory drive at the conventions.
Yeah.
Do they?
So,
they don't sell. They don't sell as much, or they do.
They sell.
They do.
So I mean, it's kind of a good thing here to have that digital and not digital stuff.
It's thinking outside the box when it comes to selling today comics, at conventions and stuff like that. I just think that when we talk about saving the industry, I just think that if you made something more affordable, where parents that come up, and I don't know how it is over there, but here in New York, I know that parents will think 3 or 4 times before they spend even $5 on the book that they know their kid is going to kill. Like, I know my kid's going to rip that thing up. I don't know if I want to spend $5 on a book my kid is going to rip up. They may spend $1, $2, because whatever, kill it. But $5, $10, they'll be like, I don't know if I want to spend that. And so it's hard to sell it to the parent and the kid.
I think whenever it comes to saving the industry, and I know my views, again, are a little bit different than most. I think it really has to start with the LCSs. I'm a big advocate.
I love that.
I'm a big advocate for going into the LCSs because, we've dealt with a lot of them. Geek Out is one of our sponsors. Geek Out in Burleson, Texas is a huge sponsor of ours. They've had us in there, and to be able to sit at a table at a local comic book store, hand out a sketch to some, or even a free sticker, and to see somebody who's coming into an LCS for their first time, their face light up. That's somebody I know who's going to come in more often. And the LCS managers, people who are running it, see this, that we're making it an experience for them and not just wanting to go sell our book. I had a young girl. She came up to me and she was like, can I have one of the sketches? And my sketches are just me doodling. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, you tell me what your character is and I will draw you a custom sketch. I know not everybody can do that, but you can get stickers for pennies on the dollar and hand those out to you can do something unique as well. I mean,
no, I love that idea, dude. I love your idea of going into the local comic book shops. The thing is convincing some of those comic book shops to let you sit in their store, and a lot of them probably, I mean, if you I think you have to build a rapport, you know what I'm saying? You can't just go in there cold and be like, hey, I want a table here. It's like, who are you, bro? Like, are you crazy? What am I going to give you a table here? And I think you got to go in there, and there is that, you got to build a rapport with some of these stores. I
think that's the hardest thing to get across to some of the creators, because they want to go in there and sell their books at full price. Usually I give the LCSs kind of a discount because they got to make money too. So you want them to make money. You want them to invite you in, and you're going to make money on your table, whether you have fan art, keychains, stuff like that. But the main thing I tell them, this is usually on the second or third visit. I tell them, hey, if we can get a table for a day, we're going to make it an experience for your customers.
And me sleep on the ground.
That they're never going to forget. Yeah, he slept on the ground once or twice. But,
nice.
And they leave with the story. This poor kid who didn't have a house, he was sleeping
on the damn, tugging at the heartstrings with that. Nice.
But
seriously, you guys pull all the stunts. You guys don't play, man.
But we make it an experience that they remember. They're going to meet and I'm not trying to say I'm anybody, but they're going to meet a creator of a comic that I never met a creator of a comic. And then you're going to get something special, like I said, a sticker, a sketch. Sometimes I give the demo books out for free. If I can get my printing down, I might give. And sometimes I try to do drawings. Put your name and your email in so I can add you to the list. I'll do a drawing and leave the winning prize at this LCS. So they're going to come back to the LCS, and that LCS is going to say, hey, they came back. I've had a lot of customers say, we want any of your books put in our pool boxes. And that leads the LCS managers and stuff to say, hey, we want you back.
What? Paul, I think we've come up with 3 good ways to save the industry just tonight on this show. One of them is promote the positive things that are going on, right? Promote the positive things, right? Number 2, try to keep the prices low. That was mine. I don't know if that's going to help out, but try to keep the prices low in the comics. And number 3, hit up your LCSs, create a community, and get in there and create an experience for the people coming into the store so that everybody benefits from it. I think those are 3 pretty good things to start off just tonight, bro. And if people just brainstorm more like this, I think we can save the industry, so to speak.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. I do too.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't know if this is a question that's ever going to be answered, but it's a question that definitely needs to be out there and asked. George, we're hitting the hour and a half mark, which we usually only do an hour. Is there anything you want, any projects you want to talk about? I know we talked about Geek Out, who does sponsor us, Burleson, Texas. Yes. We talked about ASAP Imagination, who we have our catalog of books at Digital in E1 World. What else? You got anything? Anything you would like to talk about, George?
So for those watching, and if you on the rewatch or whatever, if you guys want to download Russ 5377 from the any1world.com, if you use the promo code podcast at checkout, you get 15% off. So take advantage of that. Issues 1, 2, and 3 are out right now of Russ 5377. Issue 4 comes out next month, at the end of the month in September. I'm doing them monthly. And if you want to pick up a copy of Wonder Duck, or if you want to pick up a copy of any of my T-shirts and things like that, go to getyourmeds.com. That's with a Z. Getyourmeds with a Z.com. I also do lettering, so if you guys have any lettering that needs to be done, I also offer that. I also offer that. I also offer that as something that I do as well. And we have a podcast on Tuesday nights that goes live. We spoke about it a little bit. Catch the Craze, which I do with my buddies Sam Vera. We do a show every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. where we have artists and we talk about stuff like this. So check that out. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And I'll be putting out a channel at the end of the year in October also to talk about writing. And it's going to be geared more towards the art of comic book writing. Yeah, I'd love to have you on that too, Paul, so we can chat a little bit. Yeah. But yeah, man, that's what I'm rolling with. And obviously I'll be producing more comics coming out next year. So look out for that.
All right. And you are
DJ Moore.
Where can they get your stuff?
Huh?
eBay?
Yes. Hardest working kid in comics.
I got
eBay.com.
I got to tell him
go
to promote
buy
himself.
My stuff because I need pizza and stuff for money. I need to buy $20 comics.
What, our next
what do you sell on there?
I sell
my books, his books. He sells sketchings. He sells everything. Just about he sells anything again.
Katie Shaw has a nice comment there. Yeah, man. We try to keep it positive. There you go. That's it, man. Communication is key.
Is that all for you? Our next convention's College Station. It's gonna be, later.
Oh, you're going? You're gonna be there next week?
Is it next week? The week after, I think.
Isn't it next? Not this weekend, but the weekend after, right? The 8th, 9th, and 10th or something. Okay, that's what I meant. Yeah.
I'll start promoting it next week. This coming week. Anyway,
I'm gonna be at Baltimore Comic Con that same weekend here on the East Coast, so that's gonna be cool.
Man, we gotta
do the Ringo Awards there. That's where they do the Ringo Awards.
That's awesome. I was telling him all about the Ringos.
I still barely know about it, so
we got to do Comic Con soon together. We definitely got to.
We definitely do, man. I got to meet you guys in person, dude.
But for everyone out there, my name is Paul Gomez. Paul Gomez 790. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. If you have any comic book questions, if there's anything I can answer, I'm glad to help. If I don't have the answers, I will help and look and find them for you. I'm usually on Facebook to help you out. Also, if you're having a bad day, if there's something that you need to get off your chest, I'm willing to hear you and be here for you. That's again, Paul Gomez 790, Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. That's all I got. Have a great night. See you next week.
Peace.